You're listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast, discussing all aspects of precision and long-range rifle shooting. This episode is brought to you by Impact Dynamics. And now, over to your hosts.
Oh yeah, that's me. Hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. This is episode number 126. And just like last episode, which was recorded a few minutes ago, we'll go the other way around the room. Travie Harris, the polite one, who's got really rude in the last episode and started bossing us all around.
Oh, it's a week later now. I'm refreshed.
I'm glad you've had a moment to think about your life choices.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, good. Oh, good luck with him. Dutchie?
He did tidy it up towards the end there, and
Yeah.
I believe he was courteous again.
Yeah, he
So
seemed surprised.
We'll beat that out of him.
Oh, that's it. And Bronte?
Well, it took us 36 minutes to get him last time. I reckon we can crack him in
You
20
reckon we
now.
can do it better?
Yeah, I reckon we
Yeah.
can get him. Yeah.
I want him standing up and yelling.
Whoa. I don't
we
know.
are-
He is pretty
Well, it's going to be
polite.
hard because you'll have to move the mic up.
That's a
Yeah, well, we haven't
Whoa.
been touching the mics every 35
That's
seconds
okay.
this episode, have we?
Well, you haven't.
No.
Amateur.
Just being polite. I don't want to ruin the gear.
Yeah.
It works really well. You do that. It's great.
It took a minute 36 this time.
Look at that.
26.
New personal best.
Yes, go team.
The hot dog, we have a wiener.
So we're out on Facebook Live this time. Hey, Facebook legends. So we are expecting interference. Is what we're doing. We're expecting interference from Facebook. But anyway, right. So
Wait,
we're up
the
to-
company or just the people on it?
Bit of
Because
both.
I
Bit
don't
of
trust
both.
any of them.
Yeah.
No, a bit of both.
Probably going to get censored.
Yeah. I hope so.
Well-
Travie's going to get censored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to
within-
polite.
Probably by 20 minutes in. I think we're getting.
No, we got him in a minute 30. We're sweet. That's a new personal best. I
Do we
think
have to
we got.
refer to this as like freedom seed sowing now?
Oh, yeah.
The freedom seeds were sent away at a very fast pace into a receiving object.
And the hit indicator went off.
Yeah. And we had to wait politely for it to stop
Then
flashing.
we had to skin the hit indicator,
It's called the precision.
cover it up into bite-sized chunks,
It's the
Yeah,
precision.
it's Steph, right?
and mix it with some tofu. And I don't know what else happened.
Why would you mix perfectly good protein with
Because
tofu?
we're on Facebook. Idiot. They're listening to us. You can't sow the seeds of freedom if you're being gagged.
Because this isn't at all offensive.
Right. Should we start this one again?
No, it's actually probably been the best one so
Oh,
far.
I think so. I think we should probably tap it out there and we're done.
Seamless.
I've lost it. We've lost it. We've gone.
Yeah, but we're not going to be able to
There
break
it is.
Travie in a minute 36 again. That was a good effort.
No, we're still recording. We're still
Oh.
recording.
Oh, sorry. We're still
I
on-
mean, I regularly threaten to cancel the show and then I just edit it out. But I might leave this one in. Anyway,
Seems
we
like
still
a missed opportunity.
Welcome to the Precision Hockey Podcast.
That was last week,
That was
mate.
last
Get
week.
with
That was last
times.
week. Oh.
We're on to baseball this week.
Yeah.
So it's still coming up. There's Still Slam. Still Slam is about to happen. Probably well, it may have actually happened depending on how lazy we were this last week.
Drag us into your
Yeah, you're right.
lazy uploading.
So we will be excited about that. We also
So because this episode might
We
come
will
out
be
after.
excited about Hypothetically, I won.
So because this came out after the match, what were the stages
do you want to
again?
read?
Yeah, what were the stages?
Forget. I
No,
forget.
Trav.
Yeah.
Stop gaming.
Major
I
game.
could-
Jeez,
How
like
many-
he was
how
like
many is
half
there?
polite in the first one. Now he's just
Well,
Now he's trying to
blatantly
cheat.
rude.
4.5 minutes into
he's
it, he's
trying to
trying to
cheat.
game.
Yeah, I know.
I've had a week to
Jeepers.
prep. I'm relaxed now.
I think we probably need to take a bit of a look at ourselves, Dutchie, because I don't think we're a good influence on people.
I'm not sure if Travie understands pre-recording things. I'm not sure if he's quite got his. He thinks he's been sitting in that chair for a week.
It's not our fault. He's naive.
Maybe he's a leading physicist and time is relevant, relative to him.
But we're on the same.
No,
Are we?
That's not how relativity works.
the Precision Physics podcast this week.
All
I
aspects.
thought that was simple.
Well, no, it's all relative.
It
Yeah,
is
but
all
if you're-
relative.
You're in the same room.
No, that's Tasmania.
Yeah.
They're all related. You're confused. Right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but to us, he stayed there. But
time
he
was the
could have
same for
gone
him.
around.
No, time was
but
the
he
same
could
for
be
him 'cause he
moving
was here the whole
infinitely
time.
faster than us, though.
I've seen him move. He's not that fast.
did you just want me to change the lights all from red to different colours? Is that would that make this better for you?
No.
Okay. Trying to help. Hey, some more things that went on. If you want, by the way, if you're looking for any PRS shirts, they're up on the PRS website. Some of the leftover shirts from previous matches. And speaking of T-shirts, far better ones. You should be able to see on our website by now. The Precision Shooting Podcast All Aspects T-shirt is up there for pre-order. So if you'd like to cover your boobs in all aspects, that doesn't sound right. If you'd like a T-shirt that says all aspects on it with our logo on it, actually Bronte's online now buying 3 of them.
Some places where they'd be quite welcoming of having all aspects printed over there.
Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, so they are online now. You can pre-order them and they'll be coming out at some point. Now this has got awkward talking about coming out. Right. Anyway, so they...
You're in a supportive environment, Rusty.
Is that because of boobs?
Oh, you know, it was all going downhill, so why not just crash out?
Just
Why
crash
is, it
out.
down, why is that downhill?
Well, you know.
No, you can't recover
We're
from
back.
that. Good. Good. So, look...
I thought we were peddling our wares to well-endowed women. Rusty's come out, said he's not interested.
Yep,
It's all good.
that's it.
One less
Travie,
person to play
any-
against.
Any comments for you?
I'm
That's a good
Benson.
point,
I'm
yeah.
back to polite again. We're 6 minutes in now.
Oh, so you're going to like ebb and flow?
Yeah,
this-
exactly. Yeah.
I think he's got
right.
a split personality disorder.
Bipolar.
You never know what you're going to get.
I think
Can't
the's
wait.
more in there. That's what's scary.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
going to
It's
go
like,
with
like
like
one every second, every 2 minutes.
17
I
different
personally-
personalities in there.
I'm just waiting for the Canadian one to come back out.
No, he's got the Canadian headphones this time.
No, I'm still on the German.
No, he's German
Oh, you're
still.
German?
Yeah.
Nine.
Achtung, Achtung!
So, some more yelling. The
Didn't take long.
Oh, didn't know.
topic of this podcast. Well, there was a post up from Brian Sykes, who is a shooter for Team Gap and sponsored by RCBS, and he leaked a photo, probably intentionally, no doubt, leaked a photo of something new from RCBS, which, given our recording schedule, may have like come out a week and a half ago, and everyone's like, oh yeah, great, and there's a wasted episode. But anyway, we're going to try and push through. It was a new, what looks to be a Charge Master type upgrade thing. You guys, well, Bronte can see that. You guys sort of saw it. It's a black looking thing. It doesn't, no name, no indication, not a lot of details. Excited.
I imagine it will be released in green.
Oh, no,
No.
I think they're going with the
usually
Monument Grey.
prototypes come out in
Yeah, but no, but it's got the green screen.
Green screen and green buttons.
I haven't actually seen it. You guys.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, well,
I'm
you
just trying
know,
to find
get
it.
with the times.
Travis trying to help. You
Can't-
guys.
Oh,
That's it. Yeah.
No,
That's all right.
point taken. I stand corrected.
Yeah. Yep. So
It will be released in green with a black monitor.
mm.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I lost my monitor this week, so otherwise I'd have it up there loud and proud for you. But that's off getting repaired.
Back to the closet jokes.
So, so is this where we bring up gay tigers, or we're saving that?
Well,
We're gonna save
you know,
it. We'll save that.
How,
Save the gay tigers.
Jeepers.
how can this be his coming out when like this is one of the most homoerotic sports? One of the stages is called a bag of dicks, and everyone
Yeah.
was disappointed when it got censored.
Yeah.
There's no surprise.
Any other
like,
commentary? No.
how much time you run out of time? I could just point out every flaw.
Mm,
All of them.
all of them.
All right.
I'm done. There you go. That was it.
Yeah.
I'm glad. So
I bet you we edited all of that out.
No, that stayed in. Maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Listeners at home, if there was a brief pause, he edited out my 1 hour rant.
Give it to us again.
Thank you.
Perfect. So, Bronny, you had you had a question as soon as this photo popped up. You hit us with a question, which was,
Is it a strain gauge based scale or a magnetic force restoration based scale?
which I was trying to find an answer for. But while I continue to try and find an answer for, what's the difference?
It's been a while since I did the actual research on it.
Okay,
But
ballpark it.
ballpark, you know, loose concepts with a strain gauge based scale. You have essentially a strain gauge, which is a device that measures the amount that a thin metal object is essentially stretching. So it's elongation divided by its length, strain. The issue with those is they're brilliantly and cheap to produce, and that's all great. They're relatively accurate. However, they tend to drift, so they don't necessarily return to zero perfectly. Some of the algorithms that the program, the algorithms that are run through them to help them stabilize, so you get stable readings, lend them to not necessarily being great for small increases in load on them. So not necessarily the best thing in the world if you're trying to trickle on. So they tend to drift. So they're usable still, but you just want to keep your calibration weight handy.
Yep.
Whereas a magnetic force restoration scale, essentially you've got a fulcrum and a lever. You put your thing that you're trying to weigh on one side of the fulcrum, and the other side of the lever has a coil and a magnet arrangement. So you're talking about how far that coil and magnet move relative to each other, which creates induces a current, which is then amplified, which gives you a displacement, which is very, very repeatable, a lot more reliable, less prone to drift, and overall much, much better.
Okay.
However, also a lot more expensive to produce.
Yeah.
And hence, why you pay.
And they're generally a bit slower, aren't they?
No.
No. Okay.
Well,
Seeing a little bit of information that they can be, or they often are a bit slower, but okay.
I haven't had, I haven't noticed an appreciable difference. Obviously you've got different settings on there, so you crank it right up to the fast setting, and I haven't really noticed that much difference. But
okay, right. So I can't see an answer on here. I know Travie's looking as well. We're trying to work out, but it would be disappointing if they did a strain gauge, considering what their competition is out there for.
If they're trying to be a competitor to the A&D hooked up with a precision auto trickler, or auto thrower, then you'd want to be a strain gauge, but that comes at a cost. To produce this, in Australian terms, you can buy a strain gauge based scale for that reads down to 0.02 for $200-300, whereas a magnetic force restoration you're looking at 700 minimum, 700 to 1,000. So you pay a lot more for it. That was what they were when I bought mine a couple of years ago, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah, but there's also other aspects you have to worry about with one of those.
you were fighting for another word, weren't you?
Well, was I? Or was I pausing for effect? You'll never know.
Both.
You never know. Because I know we were talking about it earlier about interference from other objects in the room.
Yep.
If you want to, do you remember what we covered earlier?
Vaguely. We've had a couple of captains since then. So I think it applies to both.
The more obvious things with like fan, air conditioner.
That's
interrupting the scales.
Yep. So you've got that aspect of it, and my view is that's essentially a symptom of the precision of the scale more so than the technology being used in it. If you're measuring down to 1 milligram or 0.02 of a grain, that's not very much. So you blow on the scale and you'll get a notable deflection. Whereas if you're 0.1 grains or whatever, you're a lot less sensitive, so you get less disturbance. Trav's sitting there very politely, just smiling and nodding.
He's biding his time. He's waiting for the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, then it's going to ravage.
Stuff will be thrown.
So you've got that aspect of it.
I thought we were expecting interference from Facebook. He just said if you blow on the scale, you're going to see 0.1 of a...
Well, no, I'm not going to give you... It depends how hard you blow. It's all relative.
I don't know what you do when you reload.
deep
I
breathing.
got a long stroke press. I don't want to know.
So you're running a gay tiger now, are you?
Oh, well,
Okay.
time for an upgrade.
So bring it. What
Bring
were
it
we
back
talking
to, so we were talking about interference before Dutchy interfered with what I was talking about.
I was expecting Facebook, but apparently,
Well, he's
this stuff's okay. Apparently,
Yeah, well, that's right. No one in black SUVs has rolled up yet. There they are. Quick, hide. So the other, obviously, fans and bits and pieces, air movement will potentially disrupt you and affect your stability of measurement.
Yep.
A lot of the A&Ds and all that, they all come with draft shields and all those sort of lovely things that make a appreciable
a
difference.
draft shield is essentially a piece of plastic.
Yeah,
see-through.
well-
Sorry, just for the listeners at home.
Yep.
that
Yeah.
may not know
What
what
if
a
they're not at
draft
home?
shield. Well, good on them.
Congratulations. He's trying to be constructive. Basically, it's something that
Yeah,
stops
well, I came to the wrong place.
erroneous air currents moving past the scale. It's trying to basically get a pocket of still air
Yep.
there rather than a draft
Yep.
blowing through.
But we also talked about electrical interference.
Yes, that is absolutely a thing. Now, that's something that I noticed myself with my scale. I run mine through a UPS. I'm not actually that
Which
worried.
is-
Uninterruptible power supply. However, I don't actually really care about interrupting the power supply all that much, but I'm actually using that as a power filter because loosely UPS takes your incoming line current, which is your power from your household socket, converts it to DC, charges the battery, and then it's got a inverter that takes it from DC back to AC and replicates your power supply, essentially, in loose terms. So what that in effect does is works exactly like a power filter would to prevent any sort of disturbances in your line current impacting your sensitive electronics within the scale.
Mhm.
The other thing is putting a ferritic, I can't remember now, choke, basically a ferrite choke on there. So metal disc, metal ring that the cables wrap through helps
Oh, right.
also.
Yep. And do they have a noticeable difference, or because you see them on some things? And
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
see them
well, I
on some-
assume this is good, but then again, I know people who wear magnets around their wrists, and you're like,
Yeah, that's because there's a lot of silly people out there, and
Yeah.
people who get sucked into things. But yes, there is a scientific and tested and proven justification for why it works.
Yep.
Assuming you have the
not the
right
magnet
number
thing,
of
the thing around the thing.
assuming you have the right number of wraps and all those lovely things. And I'm a mechanical engineer, not an electrical engineer, so that all kind of got a little bit. Yeah, from my perspective, I just try not to let the manufacturers smoke out, and we're sweet.
Good, as long as they're
We were also talking about interference from other items you may have in the room. I don't know if it was a radio or a telephone.
Yep.
That can also change the scale.
Yes,
Speaking
that's
of which, the
true.
cricket's on. We better put. Sorry, back to the discussion.
Yep. Yes, with mine, I do notice if I've a phone charger, for example, which is essentially a little transformer. If I've got that plugged into the same power outlet as my scale, I do find that my scale is a little bit affected by it. And that was particularly bad before I put it through the UPS. It was quite noticeable to the point that it would not necessarily hold perfect zero like it would normally. But yeah, that's probably one of the big things with the force restoration scales that are sensational is they hold zero.
Fluorescent lights as well, I've heard.
Yes, yep.
They're one of the worst ones for interference, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much anything that generates an electromagnetic field will cause you pain. Especially
Is
when you're
this
talking about
only
super
on the I forget the
force
name.
restoration?
Yes. Or is it just because they're more sensitive, they show it up?
I guess in my personal experience, I never really noticed it quite as much with my strain gauge based scales, but they weren't anywhere near as precise. I definitely noticed it with the force restoration scales, and got rid of my fluoro light over my bench and put a LED one there that helped as well.
Yep.
I often actually don't have that light on if I'm weighing, because I find I still get some interference from that.
So what amount are you're like? Do you, if you've had that data, but like, is it a noticeable amount? Would it change your loads, or is it it really just trying to be everything as consistent as possible?
Oh, it's a little bit how deep you want to run down the rabbit hole.
All,
Yes,
all the way.
all the way
All
to
the
the
way.
bottom until you crash.
Yeah, crash and
Um,
burn, baby.
Yeah,
Crash
well,
and burn.
I'm pretty good at that crashing and burning part. It's, I guess for me, what I find with my system is I'll get a few overthrows and a few more underthrows with the
Okay, with the interference.
with the interference there, and I haven't really got any good way of scientifically proving it beyond a reasonable doubt, but I suspect that's because of the scale itself, because that basically how the auto trickler works is the scale gives it a signal of where it's at. The auto trickler speeds up, slows down relative to how far away it is, and I'm assuming it's a PID loop or something. PID loop. People probably don't know what a PID loop is.
No,
do they?
we're all looking blank.
We can guess.
Yeah, let's guess. Dutchy, what do you got?
Particle infusion deflector.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
They're 3 words.
No.
Oh, okay.
Trav's guess?
No, PID. No, I absolutely no idea.
I'm going with pig interference detective.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that one.
Cheers.
Yeah, let's go with
Is
that.
that close?
Not really. Proportional integration. Can't remember. It's
You're
proportional.
making one up now as well.
I know the first word's proportional. Basically, it's a loop it's a fairly well-established control loop which gets feedback on itself. So it's a loop that knows how far away from where it should be. So it then adjusts the rate that it is speeding up or slowing down.
All right.
I probably should have just Googled it and then it wouldn't have sounded like a jackass.
No, the guessing was great. The guessing was great.
It's PID loop. I can't remember what the actual stands for, but it's
Precision,
Precision.
powerful dynamic, precision impact dynamics.
There you go. That's what it is.
That's what it stands for.
In a loop. In a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Just
just when you
again
play it's
and
play
again and again.
It's when
and
you play the
again.
podcast on repeat. That's what
Yeah,
it
you
is.
just get
Don't
so
do that because it'll ruin your scales.
Proportional integral derivative controller.
Nah, precision impact dynamics.
Yeah, well, that too. But yeah, proportional integral derivative.
Travie,
Yeah.
got anything crude to add?
Podcast in distress.
Hey,
Hey!
hey!
Hey.
We have a
22
winner.
minutes.
22
22
minutes.
There we
Yeah,
go.
good job.
Yeah, good.
You're doing good.
All right. Well, Travie, since you popped up, let's keep it on reloading because we've certainly set down an interesting path here. You've been roading. That's reloading for short.
Yes, definitely.
Good. You've been roading for how long?
I've been roading for maybe 12 months tops, I think. Yes, since I bought my centerfire, I think I bought 300 factory rounds, shot them off, and been reloading ever since. So, just been playing with it and trying to learn the ways around it. So,
Okay. And what would you say has been the biggest impact on your reloading? What single thing?
the biggest impact,
Biggest-
experience, really, just time.
Something more
Yeah.
interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't use a lot of high tech reloading gear or
Yep.
anything like that, so I don't
That's right.
have anything that stands out in the process.
Do you
It's,
have a press?
I do have
Well,
a press.
that's a big impact.
It's a big impact. Yeah, yeah.
But is there a process that you've seen, your groups get better, or has there been something particular that has helped?
Annealing, flash hole deburring.
No,
armor
I'm
pocket
going to be honest and say
uniforming.
not a thing. I've reloaded with the exact same process the whole time. And my
Clear hasn't listened to this
Yeah.
podcast too often because
No, I gotta-
honesty is not the best.
trying to think of
policy.
making something
Just
up,
make it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. Honestly, I haven't changed anything in my process. Like from the day I started reloading to now.
So does that mean you're just like this boy wonder? They got everything perfect from day one.
I have no idea. It just
What do you mean
what
you
I
have
do
no
works.
one? Now he's been humble. Well, now that you mention it.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty good. I don't think.
Yeah, no. It's, like, honestly, I don't even flash hole uniform. I've got I reload on a Lee single stage press with beam scales.
Yep.
I use a hand length gauge and hand chamfer and deburrer, and that's pretty much it.
I
So
suspect you're the type of bloke who takes his time with it, though.
yeah, I do. I go
you're-
through the process. I
you're
check
real.
everything over and make sure it's consistent, and that's pretty much what I do. But like I said, there's no one step in my process that is above and beyond everything else that makes me go, I want to do that differently to try and improve something. So I haven't found anything wrong with my brass that's sort of pushing me in a certain way with my equipment.
Yep.
I think I will anneal this time around. After I think I've got 100 rounds to get off, and then I'll anneal because I'm at 5 firings on the brass now, and it's just starting to open up in the SDs and the ES. So I think that's probably the next step. But like I said, I haven't got there yet. So we're a bit premature with this episode. So
Have you done the?
You've had a week to prepare since the last one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What are you-
Disappointing. Rookie.
rookie numbers.
Yeah, bump those numbers up. Have you gone down the path that most people who get frustrated with beam scales have gone down, which is get like the either magnifying glass or the webcam hooking up so you can see the line, zoom right in, so you can be super duper consistent with
No,
it?
no, I've just got it set up at eye height in my reloading room and just sit there and punch them out. It's kind of quite therapeutic and just relax and while the wife's at work at night and happy days. So.
Have you extended the needle so you get a clearer point?
No, I was actually thinking if there's a way you could make an electronic signal so it flashes a light or something just to brighten things up a little bit. But
Prometheus.
You could get one of those PID loops.
I could,
Yeah, going. That could help you.
It's not going to be any benefit in that area.
Or seeing as
Because it's not
what
actually
you're
a
doing is
control
working,
input.
why don't you just keep doing what you
Well, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. I look at sort of what I could buy and I go, I don't think I'm at that stage where I need it yet. I
Sure.
mean, like there's a lot of things I can still learn about the process and
Nobody needs an auto trickler, but after they've had it, nobody will ever give it up.
Nobody needs a garage trimmer, but you try and buy one off a bloke who's got one.
Yeah, they'll.
Not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Well,
Yeah,
contrary
deceased
to
estate's
popular
about the only
belief,
way you're going to get it.
you don't need all the flashiest newest crap to make good ammo. I think
Not
we
wrong.
just said it here.
No, that's true. It just takes longer.
yeah, it
Yeah, but it's-
definitely takes longer. I'm not, it definitely does. And I would like to speed up the process as I go, but yeah, I've got enough spare time in the evenings, I guess, and it just
Lucky
works. so.
bugger.
Yeah, brilliant. What about you, Bronte? Have you got a particular thing that has revolutionised your reloading?
Oh, the auto trickler was a massive step forward just in speed and precision of the, weighing repeatedly down to one, at most two kernels of powder helps. And it being quick, like, I've got 2 powder pans that I've made weigh the exact same amount. So I'm basically, because I bought mine
useful.
before the auto thrower came out, otherwise that would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically 2 powder pans, dump one, put it on. By the time that one's trickled up and I've dumped the other one and filled it again, I can't necessarily keep up. When I've got it tuned up right, I struggle to keep up just dumping powder. Basically,
Yeah, right.
it's real quick and it's very efficient. The other thing I think would be a annealing. So I built an induction annealing machine, which was a good way to waste a day.
I was going to say, is that a big process for someone who understands what they're doing with it?
I don't know. You have to ask somebody who understands what they're doing with it because I don't really. But it worked. It wasn't actually that bad. It was just a whole heap of crap off of eBay that I kind of just wired together and it worked.
So
Yep.
would you build it again or would you buy one?
I could not justify spending $1,600 to buy an amp, and I don't disagree that the amp ones are better than the one I've got, and I wouldn't even try to argue. They are sensational. They are really good, and if you got the money, I would definitely buy one. But for me, I couldn't justify it. I think mine cost me about $300 in parts, and it was fun. It wouldn't even pretend to say it's as good. But
How many
it worked.
PIDs did you put into it?
None.
See, that could change your reloading.
Yeah,
right
it could. It could.
Yeah.
At least 2 PIDs would be great.
Yeah, if I haven't had two in a day, I'm shaking.
Yeah, fair call.
But that's all right.
Better usual response.
Yeah, that's it. Dutchy, have you haven't reloaded for a little while, have you? You're probably like me.
I've been doing lots of brass prep.
Okay.
I got about 500 223 brass.
Yep.
That I've been just going through primer pocket uniforming,
Mm-hmm.
flash holdy bearing, the
Yep.
whole bit, trimming, etc. It's a joyous occasion.
I can tell you,
It's
you're wrapped.
Have you got to the point that you're now sorting by volume?
Nah, I don't care.
Okay, that's good because that's tedious.
Throw it all in. Unrelated to reloading, but on the drive back from Buchan, I dropped into Delta Tactical and checked out their location, and I have put an order in for a whiskey chassis because I'm going to start shooting centerfire comps.
Was it 20% off?
Not as good as Scotch, no.
No.
No. Actually, I don't know what the price
Dang.
is, to be honest. So maybe it is. Maybe it is as good. Not sure.
It was just your day to be walking on sunshine. Or your weekend, wasn't it?
It really
20% off
was.
scotch, 20% off whiskey, chassis.
20% off whiskey all round. So yeah, I've ordered one, and I've got a 223 sitting there that I'm going to get up and running.
Nice.
Chuck a PST on top of that, and start shooting club centerfire comps.
Beautiful.
So factory ammo, which is where the I've ruined the topic of discussion tonight, but I'm going to run factory ammo in that because I remembered that I had it sitting there. It runs really well with factory ammo, and that way I can actually do it. It's not super expensive to run it, and then that chassis will come to the new gun.
Nice,
Which is slowly in the works. So,
Oh yeah. What's the plan?
oh yeah, well let's get a bit closer to the work.
Okay.
No, let's talk
Oh,
about the
come on.
223 because we were saying
Yeah.
last episode that
Let's end it
running,
there.
running a 223.
You can't control that, Travie.
Yeah, Travie, get
that's
back
not
in your
magic.
back
Get
in
back
your
in your
corner,
box.
mate. Back in your corner.
See, we're 30 minutes in. He's trying to run the show again.
Yeah, so it's like 20 minutes he was nice, 30 minutes he's rude. Does that mean what at 40 minutes? What are we going to get?
Never know.
Remorse. Storm out.
Remorse.
Storm out.
Oh, we're going to get the
I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
sorry, guys. I didn't mean it.
I love you guys. The hugs all around.
Yeah, nah.
But sorry, we're back under the 2 to 3.
Yeah, we were. I think it's we were talking about it last episode. What factory ammo are you running in your 223?
It will be the 69 grainers, the OSA branded, made by ADI, 69 grain Sierra Match Kings, and that's what I ran in that before, and they shot 0.3 group fairly consistently.
That's
I do
pretty
believe.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, horrible. It's
Why,
horrible.
why bother reloading? Eh?
Yeah, I don't know actually. Not for
Well,
that.
yeah, if you're paying, get those for a pretty decent price.
It's a 900 box of ammo. Yeah.
You get them for a pretty decent price. You shoot them and then flog off the brass.
Yeah.
It's pretty cost effective.
It is. I think it was working out to about 27 cents a shot. So,
Yeah, that's,
there you go.
That's not half bad. That's
That works out
it's
okay.
9 mil territory.
Yeah. So I think I'll get into that and see how we go with shooting centerfire comps. which
Beautiful.
would be
What's
nice.
your timeline? When are you coming out?
I thought that was this episode.
This episode?
Yeah.
Done. The
didn't-
last episode,
Weren't you
didn't we?
paying attention earlier?
Yeah.
That was a bit earlier, not long ago. But in terms of shooting, apparently they're in customs.
You're in customs. Beautiful.
So we shall wait. So,
So it's
hope-
anyone's guess, really.
pretty much. So hopefully maybe another couple episodes, we'll have a gun up and running, and we'll start putting some photos and stuff up.
Nice.
Beautiful.
So what was the inspiration behind the Whiskey 3 over, because obviously there's a few different ones available.
There is, yeah, and I was really eyeing off the MDT chassis.
Yep.
I like it. I think it's good. It's good value for money. And
Sorry, which MDT? Because I
so
was
the AAC,
AAC, yep.
the ones with the A's and the C's.
Yep,
I
yep.
forget the details of them. And the major thing is that the whiskey's got an extra PID loop in it than the
That's
MDT.
good. You can
so-
never have too many
No,
PIDs.
no. But
Is
the,
it a critically damped, underdamped, or overdamped?
all the
It's
damps.
whiskey
Yeah.
barrel.
Whiskey damped.
Yeah.
Yep.
Charcoal filtered.
20% off whiskies. So
Walk
no,
on
the
sunshine.
main reason was because I was having a look at Trent's setup, Trent Daft, and he has the full, the Gen 6, which goes over the barrel and the whole kit and caboodle. And I was chatting to Danny like, it's pretty good, but it gets a bit pricey. And he said, well, that's all stuff you can swap out. You can add on later. You can do bits and pieces. And I started thinking, yeah, okay, that's I like that. So the base thing I think is in the ballpark of around 1,500. You put the gun in and away you
Yeah,
go.
off you're on.
Yeah, and you can start upgrading the other bits and pieces in due course.
Yep.
So Delta support it immensely, so I want to support them.
Oh,
and their
absolutely.
products. So,
Yeah. They're also really knowledgeable guys there.
Yeah.
At Deltas, you bring them up and go, oh, what about this? And they'll
Yeah.
give you a no bullshit
Mm.
answer, which is, hard to find sometimes in that.
Well, I think
in the sales space.
big thing is that Danny, especially Danny, gets out and shoots matches.
Mm.
And they've got teams that have. We've just gone into a Delta plug, haven't we? Really, but
Pretty much,
It's,
yeah.
I mean, it's true. So like they've got some of the best shooters shooting for them, and then feeding that knowledge and information back into post match. And Danny shoots matches, and so they're talking from experience,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is really really useful. So that's the plan. Whiskey 3, Gen 6 is hopefully coming soon, and we'll be out and got to put Trav back in his place.
That's
That's
right.
really the main thing.
Game on.
fair enough. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. So that's just a Remy action. It's nothing flash, nothing too special. So, but it does the job. I hope. Well, he does the job better than I can, so I've got to catch up to it now, which is the main thing. But I've sidetracked it from reloading, so I won't intend to reload that particular gun because for that sort of money,
Just chamber,
Really?
just chamber one round,
Yeah.
one shot per stage, no reloading. Single feed it.
good job,
Yeah.
good job. One shot, Scott.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you wanted an effect, did
just
you?
a buzzer. That
Yeah.
would have
I
been.
would have thought the dirt.
Yeah, there we go.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, that's what it deserved.
We could have got a ching in there, but
No.
I don't, it's the red button. I don't know which one that is, so it makes it difficult to do that. That would be more challenging. But I think for that sort of dollars, I'm not worth reloading. It's not. It's not
Yeah.
worth it. But I will reload for the whatever I end up, which is I mean clearly from this episode it's the gay tiger, so it's got to be a gay tiger.
As long as it's got stripes in the barrel.
Stop pinching my ideas, mate. Stop. You're letting the tiger out of the bag, mate.
Oh,
You're letting the tiger out of
Jesus.
the bag. But back to some thoughts on the Winter Classic. Just throwback. One of the things I put a meme up through Impact Dynamics on that one. If you happen to see that one, which was a 6mm BR magazine with all the rounds tipped over, and I know Travie's going to pull it up in a second. But if you haven't seen that, it's good fun. And then it went into one of the groups, and guys were like suggesting, oh yeah, you should run this caliber or that caliber or this. It was a giggle. That's what it was meant to be. But what it wasn't actually. It didn't happen from feeding. It happened because the guy dropped the magazine, and the rounds all went sideways, which is still not a great benefit if you can drop your magazine out of your gun and your rounds all end up sideways. That's less than ideal. You having trouble finding it?
Yeah, I'm not good at technology either.
Oh, okay. Well,
We've lost our monitor.
It's
for those-
gone.
For those playing at home, we can't see
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah,
Usually
that's
we're
right.
up to speed, but
yep.
we're
Usually
just
this
trying
is
to
all.
picture sideways 6mm BR rounds in a magazine.
Oh,
I can't.
sorry. Okay.
Sideways is probably misleading, more end on end.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean,
all we can see is primer pockets.
yeah. That's well, not just pockets, primers. Really, that's all you can see is primers.
I guess technically you can't probably see the pocket, can you? Because they're covered by a primer. It's a whole lot of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not what you want in a match, really.
No.
Why's he got one in his rifle?
He's got two magazines.
He's already got some fun in the chamber. Well, he's got fun about to go in the chamber. What is he worrying about the one he's dropped?
Oh, I don't know. It was
Bloody
good.
some people are
6mm
greedy.
BR shooters. Oh, look at my magazine that's fallen over. I'm like, mate, just concentrate on what you're doing.
We need you to get to more matches, don't you?
What do you mean more? Like a match?
A match. Oh, good.
You can just walk the firing line doing commentary.
Yeah,
can't you?
I just special comments
So-
that no one wants to
Hey,
hear.
hey.
Damn it, he said what I was thinking. Why do I run this heap of shit?
It's like, hey, you realise it's actually better if you hit the target?
Oh, it won't be anything stupid like that.
He's not going to give out advice.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not going to be helping people. Oh, are you serious? You meant to hit him? Like,
Oh, shit.
it says whatever you brung, mate. Like,
Yeah.
That's the way. All right, so we are on Facebook Live, and we should look through some of the. We've actually been having Dan has been helping us with terminology on PID and other bits and pieces. Oscilloscope. We needed to pick up a measurable difference. Well, I guess we missed that boat, didn't we? Sorry, didn't look at your comments soon enough. Oh, Andy Little has joined the broadcast. That's disappointing. Yeah,
He's been waiting all week for it.
he has been, but no, that's all right. All right. Anyway, back on track.
so they're the only two people on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's only two people on Facebook anymore.
Yeah. One's an engineer correcting me, which
Ev-
is pretty legit. But
Yeah. Everyone else is on TikTok these days.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah. No, probably leave it at that, mate.
Okay.
don't pursue
Is this
that
one of these closet things?
Don't Google it at work. Is that what you're saying?
You can Google it at work if you want to, mate. It's not my job. I'll lose.
Right. I'm getting a bad feeling about this.
I don't have a job. I don't care.
Well, you can be the test
What, are
subject.
you going to be
then.
fire me from being unemployed? I'll have a job then.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Good. Bringing back to your discussions on reloading conditions. What have you said you made some tweaks to your room to sort of get the ideal sort of setup, in terms of you change your light, you change bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Is there some recommendations, like some do not do's type stuff that you would suggest for people setting up if they're about to set up the reloading area?
Yeah, I would avoid a room with evaporative air conditioning if you want to load in there, because evaporative air conditioning essentially requires a draft to work properly.
Yep.
So yeah, be mindful of drafts. Open windows aren't necessarily great near scales, things like that. In a perfect world, you'd have a nice temperature controlled, stable, because you will notice.
So you'd essentially have air conditioning that didn't blow air.
Well, no, you'd
So
have.
you don't want any air movement, but you want it to be at a perfect temperature
you'd
the
be-
whole time by your air conditioning.
Well, no,
not
you could
moving.
have like laminar flow HEPA filters and stuff like that if you have
Where do we bring a hippo into this?
It's just
HEPA filters.
Okay.
So you have
I've
like
misheard
nice
that.
clean air, no dust.
Okay.
for those of us that can't afford to have all of that.
Oh,
Just shut the door. Like
No,
shut
no,
the door.
Yeah, you
Just
sort of shut the door,
We'll
and
just shut the
if
door.
you're like a
Okay.
high wall split, you'd have it so it's not blowing straight onto your scales.
Put a
So you-
put a hippo in your air duct.
Yeah, there you go.
We've got hippos and
Have you
ducks
seen
now.
them
It's
when
big-
they shit?
That's an air duct.
This is digressing.
I think everyone's watched a hippo shit once in their life.
If not, that's
Yeah,
that's on the
Google it.
list.
It
That'll
is
change your. That's the one
That's
thing you
it.
could do in reloading to
the
change.
wet fan. Don't have one of them in your air ducts.
Put a link in the show notes to that.
Poor
Yeah. So essentially, you're just getting back to the question.
Yes.
You'd
idea.
be mindful of drafts. Open windows, things, fans blowing on you, benched, all that sort of stuff. That's obviously a big one that does affect your scales. You can draft shields and all that helps, but ideally, if you don't have a huge amount of air movement within the rooms, great. Mindful of fluorescent lights, as Trav mentioned, they are known to cause interference with scales. Also, be mindful of vibration. It sounds really silly, but I live in a two-story house, timber framed, and if the washing machine is on a spin cycle downstairs,
Yep.
I can actually tell with the scales because they'll won't.
Yeah, right.
But you can actually, that amount of vibration in the structure is actually noticeable in the scales. It sounds really stupid, but you
Yep.
can.
It's enough.
It shows up.
So what I'm picking up, Rondy, is that most of the considerations you take for environment really is down to that scale.
If you're talking about a high precision scale,
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. But if we are there any aspects of other things that we do in the reloading process that are really affected by the environment? A standard house, garage, shed environment that you're in.
One thing, it's a little bit hard for a lot of people to be able to control to a super duper precision, but
Sure.
your
Don't
humidity
drink
as
hard
well.
liquor.
Nah, it's
20%
fine.
off though.
No,
Yeah,
it's
but not while you're reloading.
Oh yeah, fair point.
it's
Can't argue with that.
it's the moisture content.
Yes.
So your humidity, obviously the moisture content in your powder. Your powders are typically quite dry from when they come from the factory. That your little desiccants in there to help keep the moisture under control. All those lovely things. So if you then open a 4 kilo tub, for example, and humid day over time, open close, blah blah blah, over a year or 2 years or whatever, your powder will absorb a bit of moisture.
Yeah.
Which essentially affects the
Burn rate?
weight.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
so you end up with less
Because you got
less of
more
the that burns and more water in it.
Yep.
So a kernel of powder now weighs marginally more because it's got absorbed more moisture from the air.
Yep.
Um,
I do have a in my reloading room. I do have a big dehumidifier.
What if you live in Darwin?
Dawn.
It was your own fault.
Uh,
6 months of the year where you don't want to be alive.
shoot more so you don't have your
I'd
powder
have to go
sitting there
vomiting in Darwin.
with your target.
Target.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I do with my scales. Once I've found a load that is right for me, because I don't have the new latest and greatest auto trickler that you can like sync in via Bluetooth. I've actually got a lump of solder that I've trimmed to be my exact powder charge weight, and I use that to set my scale weight each time. And the reason why I chose that is because obviously it's not going to absorb moisture, whereas I've actually done the experiment of weigh out a charge, then leave it outside, stick it in the safe and whatever, leave it there for 3 or 4 days. Come back and weigh it, and you does weigh a different weight, whether it goes up or down. Obviously depends on what the humidity is versus what the powder is, blah blah blah. But yeah, it will actually affect the weight of the part. So where these people leave their powder in the dispenser and all that sort of stuff, I personally wouldn't do that.
I think, it comes down, obviously, we're talking about being as accurate and precise as possible, whereas a lot of the guys who just leave their powder in dispenser or other bits and pieces
Just don't care.
Yeah,
It's
smacking
near enough, close enough.
smacking foxes in the guts not in the guts, in the chest and doing bits and pieces like that where it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got an insider's tip. If you want to ruin Bronte's life, go to his house with a soldering iron and just heat up that little bit of solder. So take a wee bit off it, maybe turn it into a pool, and he'll just you'll see him melt down. He'll come on and he'll just go.
That's why you wait before you use
That's how you
it.
take your competitors out before they even get to the range.
So you mentioned with the environmentals like the humidity and that sort of stuff as well. Is that the same with pre-priming your cases? Do you pre-prime your cases, leave them sitting there, just dump the powder, or do you do it all in that one process?
I typically pre-prime my cases. Yes, I do agree that it will change it will absorb, primers will absorb moisture. There's no doubt about that. I kind of argue, my take on it is I don't get that excited by it because I'm not weighing the primers.
No.
So it's not affecting my charge to charge.
Yeah.
I guess arguably, yes, they will absorb moisture, potentially affecting the burn rate. But I also kind of look at it that the manufacturer sends it out in a box. It's been sitting on a shelf, exposed to air. So nobody else up to that point has really given too much of a care. So I'm probably kidding myself if I think that's going to make a meaningful difference out. I can't shoot that good. I'm not that good. Everything else I'm doing is going to stuff it up more than that.
Yeah.
A bit. If I was in a stupidly humid environment, Singapore, it's like 98% humidity, and it probably would be
Consideration.
You might think about it then, because I think you'd probably end up with more primers failing and all sorts of crap like that happening. But in Adelaide, where it's relatively dry, I got my stuff up enough other stuff to.
Yeah.
Is that when you should get your Castrol out before you start priming?
Oh yeah.
I just run a drop for my priming. Yeah,
Yeah.
I run a Kestrel drop. Yeah, keep track of my priming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it tell you the range to the priming handle?
No, you need a laser rangefinder for that.
No, you don't.
No, not according to the.
Oh,
video we
that's right.
watched. Yeah.
Yeah, but he could have. They could have had it like sync via Bluetooth. There is a solution. Obviously, it was bullshit. It was Hollywood. But anyway,
No, it was cheap Hollywood.
It was cheap Hollywood.
yeah,
That's
Bollywood.
Just whole.
Oh, good. One of the things that I see a lot with reloading setups that I certainly think could be done better is a lot of guys are working in the dark. A lot, it's ignored a lot, but a lot of people don't have enough light around where they're reloading, and what might seem trivial. I'm not talking about how it will affect your powder or your scales or your PID loops or anything along those lines, but purely in terms of like inspecting your cases and things like that, being able to see, like have good light to be able to do that. And I certainly saw an I saw a
This means
benefit.
a lot to him.
It's
saw
an emotional
it's-
statement. We do need to care about light. Everybody cares about light, Rusty. You're not alone.
I'm glad. Good. So I I've
I
got
saw. I don't think I can talk about what I saw.
Turn the lights off.
I thought I was at a point where I could discuss this, but
We're just not there yet. You're in a
soon.
supportive
You
environment.
do
It's
realise
okay.
who's in this room. No?
yeah, I wouldn't talk to you guys either.
I'd certainly found that having a brighter scenario and being able to see details and see cases a lot better certainly helped. It allowed you to catch out sort of things that you perhaps may have missed otherwise, being able to see down and make sure there's powder in each case, which we got caught out on the weekend, a few guys, for not having powder in their cases and being able to visually see that with plenty of light around. So if you are setting up a reloading setup, don't be shy about putting some LEDs perhaps.
LEDs seem like cheap as anything these days. Anyway, with me personally, I just use my phone and after I've charged all my cases before I set all my problems, I run through and everything's got powder.
Yep.
That's one of the checks that I do because
Yeah.
nobody likes.
I got
the
an
click,
interesting
nothing
story.
happened.
I had a millipede crawl into one of my cases and die. So then when I went to charge it, this was sometime later, the powder charge spewed out. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I checked it, and there was a dead millipede in the case that had just curled up at the bottom.
I would have been interested to see how that affected your burn rate.
I would have loaded
I
it.
just wouldn't have shot it. Because just me.
Have you met you?
Sorry, is this a different person? Are we back to split personalities or?
I will not reveal the secrets of my other personality.
Good. It's all right. Travie, any millipedes from you or any
No.
suggestions on?
Yeah,
on
it's an odd one, isn't it?
No, I'm going to. Well, you were asking before about things that have really ramped up my reloading process. I'm going to introduce millipedes. One in every case.
Yeah, they got 100 legs.
Yep.
They're really helpful.
Yeah, to help your bullets go faster.
Pretty sure that they've got more than 100 legs.
What are you?
Otherwise they'd be called centipedes.
millipedologists.
Yeah.
What if they have less?
Then they're not centipedes. They're less than centipedes.
Is this going to centurions?
This is going to end up with Google.
We have decided to Google millipedes.
What was the question while he's Googling
How
that?
many legs?
I was going to ask
What's
you.
changed your reloading?
I was going to ask you from an environment setup, you've been reloading for long enough and tweaks and stuff you've made, not necessarily from your processes, but just if someone's setting up a new setup, what would you do differently? Are you standing on a stool or any of those things?
Yeah, that's something I have actually changed in my reloading room. So
Okay.
just the height of the benches and the layout of all the equipment. So keeping everything where you can make it an actual process, so you don't have to sort of get up, double handle everything. Because although my reloading process is long enough doing everything by hand, I have been cautious of ironing out double handling things. So just moving things from one tub to the other through, take it out, prime it, drop the powder in, scales, put it away. So, and I find standing is one of those things as well. Like if you're sitting down, you get a little bit tired throughout the process and you become a bit complacent. So standing there keeps you awake and keeps you focused on the whole reloading process. So
Sure.
750.
750 legs
Yep.
for a millipede on
Yep.
average.
7 times as good as a millipede.
Centipede.
Oh,
Centipede.
7.5 times.
No. I don't even know who you talk to now.
We don't even care about the half now. The halves
I
don't
don't even know
matter.
you guys. Why am I even here? This is awkward.
Yeah, and apparently a centipede 100 according to Wikipedia as well, which is kind of logical.
Makes sense.
But the millipede one's a bit weird though, because milli 1/10,000th. Anyway, clearly they're not metric.
Clearly they didn't
Clearly
count
they're
it.
not metric millipedes.
Just check your cases. It was the light thing's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
what that was
the
what
more
we were coming back to,
steps-
wasn't
The
it?
more steps that you're taking, checking cases, I suppose, the more you're going to pick up any
Millipedes.
potential millipedes,
Foreign
split
insects.
neck.
Well, case head separation as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of those.
But yeah, if you haven't got the light,
which
is where that fault of mine came from,
Mm.
because at that stage, it was learning reloading.
Yep.
Basically lived in a shack and
You
millipedes.
did too.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to tell some stories about that shack, about you rebuilding a motorbike in the living room in front of the TV. That was good.
Yeah, I had a lot of bikes inside.
Yeah,
4.
pretty
yeah,
reasonable.
Yeah.
4.
Amazing how things change.
how did they affect your scales when you were reloading?
They didn't. No.
That was the short
No
answer.
interference. Yeah.
Yeah, good question there, Travie.
Yep.
Hard hitting, mate.
I know.
Got the response you're after.
That's it.
On that note, I think we are about done. thanks to those guys who were interjecting.
We didn't really get the interference from Facebook. We had plenty of interference, but not necessarily
Well, I suspect
originating from Facebook.
I suspect Facebook shut down our feed. That's what I'm going to guess. So that's why the interference came from.
That's because we didn't talk about tofu enough.
No.
We had millipedes.
Yeah, I talked about
Yeah.
insects.
Yeah, and dead ones.
Yep.
That's probably where you went wrong.
Yeah, but they're not vegan.
Thanks for listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast. To continue the discussion, check out our Facebook page. And for more information, head to our website, www.precisionshootingpodcast.com.au. This episode was brought to you by Impact Dynamics.